Thank you, Chairman Tonko. Today we continue our series of climate change hearings aimed at developing comprehensive legislation to achieve a 100% clean economy by 2050. And this hearing focuses on the important issue of environmental justice and the ways that climate change is exacerbating disparities in access to a clean and safe environment. It's unfortunate but inescapable that where you live in this country determines the extent of the environmental health risks that you face. Air pollution, contaminated sites, waste disposal sites, and drinking water violations all impact overburdened communities. A recent report found that more than 2 million Americans lack access to safe drinking water and sanitation. It also finds that race is the strongest predictor of access to safe drinking water. Native Americans are less likely to have a reliable drinking water supply than any other group, and this is simply not acceptable. And climate change is only making things worse. According to the GAO, nearly 2/3 of sites on the Superfund National Priority List are in areas that may be impacted by climate change effects, such as flooding, storm surges, wildfires, and sea level rise. We've already seen the results. Toxic floodwaters carried pollutants from Superfund sites in the wakes of recent hurricanes, including Maria, Harvey, and Michael. And all this disproportionately and adversely affects environmental justice communities. These communities are rural and urban. They're located in large cities and small and are found all over the country. These environmental justice communities include communities of color, coastal communities, low-income communities, and the common thread is that they do not have equal access to a safe and healthy environment. Executive Order 12898 requires agencies across the government to make addressing environmental justice part of their mission. And to meet that requirement, the EPA established the Office of Environmental Justice. Today on our second panel, we'll hear from the former head of the EPA office about what more can be done to strengthen environmental justice efforts at the EPA. But unfortunately, a recently released GAO study found that more must be done across agencies to measure progress and ensure they're addressing environmental justice. The author of that report will also testify today, along with the current EPA staff. Another recent report by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights found EPA has acted too slowly in response to complaints under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and has failed to involve and protect communities from the dangers of coal ash. The Commission was unable to send someone to testify in person, but we welcome their written testimony. We'll also have the privilege today to hear from several frontline communities being impacted by legacy pollution and climate change. We'll hear firsthand accounts from Puerto Rico, North Carolina, and Louisiana. And it's critically important that we hear from impacted communities as we work towards legislation to fight climate change and address environmental justice. And just want to thank all the witnesses for being here. Thank Chairman Tonko for calling this and the other hearings we're having. I don't know if anybody else wants my time. If not, I will yield back, Mr. Chairman.